Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of Level Up Cleveland. Today, we bring you a special edition of Level Up Cleveland as we bring you the Halloween Spooktacular. That's right. We've assembled I don't even know what you call it, a collection of some of our most interesting guests that we've ever had on Level Up Cleveland. And today we'll be discussing ghosts. We'll be discussing aliens and all the supernatural things that go with it. And no music today. It's going to be maybe a little touch of music here and there, but for the most part, we're going to get into the supernatural. And I'm going to introduce everybody once again. They've already been introduced to some extent in their previous episodes, but to my left right here, I got Angel Thevybe.
How you guys doing?
If you remember Angel from season 1. And to his left, Ed Miller from Sunless Sky. Ed was also in season 1. Guitar virtuoso. And another guitar virtuoso across the way from him, Ricky Ray from the Rick Ray Band. Hell yeah. I know you people are freaking now. You're like, you can't believe we assembled this crew. And then, to top it off, the red-eyed demon himself, Mike Webster from Curst. Oh, man. Right now, man, a few words. I was supposed to say that for the end, but I couldn't. I had to introduce you. No, it's great, yeah.
Cleveland. Ow, rock and roll, baby.
These were the demons he saw in his dreams.
And
all right, so
I am one of them.
So what we were going to do today is we're going to discuss, the things that we had previously discussed in the other episodes, where we would just touch on these things. Angel, we touched on the fact that he was starting to get, at that point, this is months ago, but you were just starting to delve into the whole ghost hunting type thing.
Yeah,
you were buying the equipment, you were doing all that kind of stuff. Since then, a lot's transpired. We're going to get into all that.
Of course.
Ed? Well, we'll get into your story because it part of the interview itself was affected by what we thought may have been ghosts.
Weird stuff.
Yeah, it was really weird. Rick, you have some of the most interesting stories of them all. I mean, you've witnessed some of the most horrific type things and alien type things. And one of the things that I didn't even think about till today was you saw the concert where the dude switched from bass to guitar or guitar to bass, and you didn't even see it happen.
That was Greg Lake, and I was watching him the whole time. He was playing bass and singing, and the next thing I know, he's playing a lead solo on a 6-string, a Les Paul, and I watched him the whole time.
And you said it was life-changing. It was kind of life-changing for you, because you were like,
lead solo just completely changed my musical direction. I mean, 100%.
Yeah, and you do, the Frank Marino thing too, we'll get into all this.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff going on. And then we got the red-eyed demon himself. Very first episode ever on Level Up Cleveland, the first thing we did. And Mike confessed to us that when he was a kid, red-eyed demons used to beat him.
Poke me.
Poke him.
Poke me. Wake me up.
Yeah. And
laugh at me.
And no one believed him. And it wasn't until he moved that it stopped. So we're going to get into all these stories. Been very excited. Thanks, you guys, for coming down.
Oh yeah,
thank you.
Oh yeah, dude. This has been built up.
Love this show.
I appreciate it.
Dope show. I love the show myself.
Well, hell yeah.
Every time I see it on Instagram, guys, you can catch it on Instagram. Please do view the show, man.
Love, baby.
So I want to get into the stories, man. Right? I want to talk about. And I want you guys to talk to each other. I want to talk about this. This is a group of guys who believes in certain things that some people might not believe in. You guys have all been touched by it or experienced some kind of thing that it's like overwhelming to you guys, right? Like where you're like, no, it's a little more than just like I believe, and every one of you guys has that like good story.
Brother, like I could tell you that I believe in it so much that it's this thing out here. You have I don't know too many people's hip to it. So it's a 32 sigils, right? And it's a thing of protection. You get it either tatted on you or you get it either way. Either way you have it on you. So this is the thing I got here. I got these right here. These all mean something. These cross sigils, they all mean horror or they're either admiration or something. So right. So I was like, man, these things are messing with me a little too much. I need to get myself protected. So everybody gets tattoos and many things. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get this tattooed on me. So I got 32 different sigils. It's on my hand.
So each one of those is what now you're saying? It's like
Protection sigil from all that
a sigil, is it called?
Sigils. It's you could see it in Mayan symbols from down to the Egyptians down to even Nordic.
Have you noticed any difference that you got in them? Like, are you being less messed with?
Yes, very much so. Even when I'm doing certain, we'll touch on that subject here in a bit. It will let me know. It will let me know right offhand. I did a certain thing the other day. We'll touch on that, and whole thing. I was like, hey, through the power of these sigils, keep me protected with this. And the whole thing caught on fire. It's I used a big old spaghetti bowl. It just said, woof. I was like, oh shit, Jesus.
This happened like, and there was no reason for it?
No reason.
All right,
no
reason. Hold that thought. Ed,
Wow.
I want to talk to you a little bit. So let me tell the story of what happened when you were on, and then you go from there, right? Because it was definitely...
It was weird.
Yeah. So when we first had Sunless Sky on, we had him on, it was Juan, obviously, Ricardo, and Ed Miller, and phenomenal musicians, both of them in their own right, and legendary. I mean, like, especially Juan. I mean, Juan's got a whole history behind him, right? So we're doing this long interview. It was our first one where I think we actually, like, were willing to open it up and do all this extra stuff. And we get toward the end. We did 4 segments with you. So it was like and 2 hours almost of interview. Yeah. We get to the very end, and the camera freezes for some reason. Pat stops the thing. He's like, hey, man, Juan's frozen on the thing, you know? We've never seen this before. So we're like, it's a glitch type thing. So we start shutting things off. We're unplugging things, and it doesn't go away. It's like nothing we did stopped this. And finally, we just shut the whole thing down, and obviously that cured, got rid of it. We put it all back up. Everything seemed normal. And right away, Ed says, oh, guys, it's the ghosts. And we're like, what?
Yeah,
well, we were just talking about it. We had just been talking about it. We had just been talking about it just prior to that. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, guys, it's the ghosts. You're like, they follow me.
That's what people say.
Yeah, you're like,
you're like when I said it.
No, you weren't.
Well, yeah.
Oh, you were?
Well, I mean, people do say that something follows me around, but
yeah.
I didn't think that it was ghosts that was doing it.
Well, I didn't either until
Seconds
we get
later.
everything back up and running again, and then we're like, all right, let's talk about it. And you start talking, and then the power goes out, and then it comes right back on again. We don't think nothing of it. Pat gets everything back into order again. We run the last 7 minutes, I think it was what it was, the interview. We end the whole thing. I go back home. I go to my girlfriend's house, and I fire the thing up, and I'm like, there's no sound. And no matter what I did, the sound was gone. And it went out when the power went out. So now I'm like, I believe in these fucking ghosts.
This guy.
I'm like, this shit really happened or something, dude, because, and you know what? Nothing like that happened before. Nothing like that's happened since.
I know, it's weird.
It was just absolutely, it really, if you were there, you would have seen
like I
how
was telling
weird it
Angel,
was.
I got this big folder that I just lumped all those kind of things in, like, oh, that was weird. No explanation.
Yeah, that was like the timing of it.
Yeah, that's what made it weird too, is the timing. Like I mentioned it, we laughed.
And then all hell broke loose. And when you said, oh, that's just this and that, and I'm like, ha 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 ha. And then the power goes out. Rick,
Yeah.
when you were on the show, I don't remember if I cut it out or not, but you
The UFO.
edit, yeah. I might have edited.
No, it was
it was in there?
gone. No, it was.
Oh,
gone.
I did edit it out. Yeah,
Well,
but
it was the fall of '96. I opened the plant up in the morning, so I'd always get up real early to go. It was like around 4 a.m.
Yeah.
No moon in the sky. It was just all stars. We have a street light out front, or had where I used to live, and it was burned out, so it made it even better. I mean, you could see the stars everywhere.
beautifully bright.
So my car wouldn't start. So I got out of the car, lit up a smoke, and I'm drinking my coffee, deciding should I just call in, leave a message, and go back to bed, or should I try and fix the car and go to work. So I'm standing there, and this huge silhouette flew over, And
So it's black when you're looking at it.
right,
basically.
it's black, and it blocked out all the stars I was looking at because I was looking up the whole time because of how phenomenal it looked. And I never really said anything to anybody about the shape of it because I'll say, "Oh yeah, what are you on? What are you taking?"
The SG.
Yeah, it looked
Around
like an
that time
SG.
especially.
Only the horns were on both sides of it, not wasn't
Right, so-
round on
right.
the one. It was horns on both sides. It was about the size of, I would say, 5 stadiums. That's how big it was because when it flew over and then went over Indian Point and it was flying low. And I just watched it. There was not a sound or nothing. No.
Now, are you living in Medina
Dead
when this
silence.
happened? Are you
What's
living in
that?
Medina when this happened?
No, Perry.
Oh, okay.
Out by the nuke plant. And
yeah,
Bill
yeah.
Peters from WJCU, when I was on his show, it said, "Did you ever see any UFOs out there?" Because he, I guess a lot
Well,
of
they
people,
say the nuclear plants
Yeah,
in general.
right?
They attract them.
Yeah. So, anyways, it flew out over Indian Point, and I just watched it disappear. And it was pretty low. I mean, I could tell by where it was on the tree line. And so I got back in my car and it started right up.
They were there
No,
for you.
no problem at all. It was, one click and it was running. So
Something
I'm
crazy.
guessing it's because it was flying over, then my car
It was like Close Encounters.
wouldn't start. Yeah.
Close Encounters
Yeah.
type thing, right? Like that's what it reminds me of. We've all seen that
Definitely
movie,
so.
right? Yeah, right.
Definitely so.
Yeah,
'cause
but
like,
it was it was the biggest thing I ever saw in the sky.
That's so cool. Plus, what we'll also get into with you was the plane crash.
Yeah.
Because the plane crash is really interesting.
I want to hear about that.
Well, because not only the thing about the plane crash that's interesting with you is that not only is that story alone could be just a great story by itself,
Yeah.
but that's when you discovered Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush.
Right.
See, I remember, and that's important to you because let's just be honest. I think
Well, that was also a life-changing moment there.
Because-
musically.
because let's be honest. I mean, one thing I've learned about Rick Ray is that Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush, there's them and then there's everybody else. Right.
Exactly. And Frank knows that. I've told him.
Oh, that's cool, man.
I not only consider him like
The best.
the greatest living guitarist on planet Earth, but he's the greatest producer.
Oh yeah.
Nobody can touch him with production. He's just absolutely the best there is.
So it's so bizarre that coincides those two things, right? I mean, like when you think about it, such a life-changing, memorable moment is that what you witnessed at that plane crash, and then at the same time, you discovered the most life-changing musical thing.
Right.
It's all, and that's why I think you told that story because you're like, hey guys,
Well, it's a song, 1974 on the Under the Sky album.
Yeah,
It tells that whole story. Like it keeps going back and forth between the radio station and the plane
So
crash.
your
And then it
experience-
all comes together at the end where I'm on the porch listening to
Frank
him.
Marino
yeah,
and Mahogany
yeah,
Rush, and you're fucking like, wow,
yeah.
that's sweet, man.
So we're sitting here with history.
Hell yeah,
right
dude.
here. He's
And then he turns into
history.
Ricky Ray later.
Man.
And then we got Mike Webster
Big
from
ball.
Curst. The very first episode we ever had was Curst. I appreciate that. You guys took a chance on us on that one. And I'll never forget it, man. I'm just talking. It's like not just the first show we ever had. This is the first time I've ever interviewed anybody in my life. And I'm just trying to get at that point in time, I'm just trying to figure out how to do this thing. So I'm like, well, we'll play with the names, like how do you come up with the names and all that kind of thing, like, I don't know. So I asked him, how did you come up with the name? And he goes, well, when I was a kid, Curst, I go, when I was a kid, we used to have these demons with red eyes used to poke me at night. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
And he's like, no, they really did, like this really happened and stuff. And this is the first time I ever talked to anybody, and I was like, "That's the easiest thing ever. This is so fun." It's like, wow, people just tell you shit,
I should have laid on the couch.
And Mike was just a unique guy. Yeah, he was just a unique guy. He was just willing to open up and tell me things, like other people really aren't like that, But that was a great
Oh
story
man,
too.
there was like a dozen of them. I swear.
And
to
it
God.
happened over and over again, right? It wasn't just like,
Constantly. It was
yeah.
all the time, and I would sleep with my head over the covers and peek out, and a couple times I'd peek out and there'd be nothing, and I'd think it was safe, and then And then they make noises, like evil noises and giggles.
I
It's
love
like
that-
paralyzation dreams.
Just
That's
look
what
at
it sounds
no.
like, man.
But it was literally poking me physically. Until they started doing that, I thought it was just imagination and whatnot. But when it got physical, and I was wrestling with them, then I started fighting with them.
Wow.
And my mom would come in and turn the light on and make me go in the bathtub, and so sleep in there to be protected, or I don't know.
Wow, really? That all
crazy.
that happened?
Oh, it was
It
psychotic.
sounds like your mom
yeah.
believed in it, bro.
Oh, they
No.
did, kind of, but they kept telling me it was dreams.
Yeah, but you were
I-
adopted
But
too,
we
right?
moved, yeah.
There's a lot more to this whole
My,
story.
my mom died in a car crash, and my dad gave me up to the state. And Webster's adopted me. They had 2 kids.
I gotta be honest with you, Mike. When you're telling me the story with this costume,
So
it takes
I
on
take it off.
yeah,
Thank you.
it takes on a whole. It takes on a whole new thing.
Did you know who the Websters were before that?
No, never,
No?
never. They were just nice people wanting to, do foster care and
Yeah.
stuff, And it was great. I mean, it was a great life. I thought I was saved, really. It was
That's
amazing.
great.
How old
I
were
was
you
a
when you were
straight
adopted?
A student in Nathaniel Hawthorne, did 4 years of French, which I don't even remember. Come on, Talibou, s'il vous plaît.
I don't remember. Let me just tell you a whole sentence.
But I
paragraph.
used to do plays in French, the lead roles, and I was pretty bright. And then I think these episodes had a lot of us to move to Brook Park. And they finally had enough of it, and we just moved, and that was the end of it.
And then they stopped.
And it stopped.
And you have nothing since then.
No, except one time I was really drunk when I was probably 20-something years old. And I was in the area. I said, I want to drive by this house, where I used to live. And I sat at the corner of 128th, and I'm sitting there yelling at this house all drunk at 2 in the morning. Like, F you, come out, demons, do something now, you mother.
Yeah, right.
All this
I mean, but that just proves that you really believed in this shit.
Oh, I did.
this
And
is-
I went home and, all drunk, made it home. Sorry, coppers, but I made it home. So anyways, I go back like a couple weeks later and drive by, and the top of our house used to be green, the bottom white and green. It was black. And it gave me the chills, like, it's like, F you, we're still here. And I'm like, oh, okay, gotta go.
No shit, man. And another story that you told about on our show that I, maybe not so much Halloweenish, but it is a good story, was the Mike Webster story.
Oh, that was
Because when I booked them, one of the things that stuck out in my mind was Mike Webster, which, unless you're a football fan from way back, Mike Webster was Pittsburgh Steelers center. He was all pro. I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the first guy that did the whole brain, when they did the.
He went crazy.
Yeah, he was one of the main
Concussions.
Yeah, he was one of the main guys that started
And he
that
was
whole
one of the
thing.
meanest, but he was an amazing player.
So when I think of Mike Webster, that's who I was thinking of. And so I tell him, like, do you ever get messed with because, Mike Webster thing?
Yeah.
He tells me the story. Tell him the story.
So I drive a truck for a living, and I'm in Pittsburgh, which is one of the worst cities to drive a truck in. I hate Pittsburgh. And I'm trying to get on 60, to go back north, which is 390 today. And I took a wrong turn. It was business 60 instead of 60. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm pissed off. And I look over to the left, and that was the funeral home, Mike Webster's funeral. And they had a big sign.
Dude's funeral is happening.
And it's
Mike
like,
Webster,
I
and he's
purposely
driving.
somehow
sign,
ended up
man.
going the wrong turn to see this shit, and that gave me the creeps.
Yeah, dude.
And then he was like, "Did you give him the old?"
Yeah, it's like when you were passing him, you go,
If I could go back, I wish I would have done that.
yeah, good old a Steeler one.
But I
Walked
was
in
so
and said,
like
I'm
freaked
not
out.
dead. What are you guys doing?
I was so
Exactly,
freaked
right?
out about it, and I said that too. I said, "No, I'm not." And I went, found 60, and got the hell out of there.
Hell yeah.
What of a moment though, like with his story when he was telling, like what of a moment for just you being in that moment while something else is transpiring. That's a beautiful moment to me.
Oh yeah, man. Especially like something like that where, you're just kind of like the thing that he was explaining is he's kind of like in that moment where you're just kind of like. You kind of glance up and then this fucking thing is like, and you're like, oh, what the fuck, right? It's
I was looking up the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, my coffee's on the roof of the car, and I'm standing there smoking, looking at all the stars, and I was like, wow! It was pretty phenomenal.
I bet, man. Like you can't. And how do you explain stuff like that to other people when you know that there's this stigma? And
well, you know, another thing about the shape of it, besides, you know, I didn't want to tell anybody because that's what I play as an SG.
Yeah, right.
But I went over a friend's house and he had a video of all the different shapes of UFOs that people saw, and that was on the cover of it. So I thought, all right, that's a little bit.
Yeah.
Of
So now people, maybe I'm not as crazy.
Yeah, that's a little bit of validation.
Now, Ed, I gotta tell you, like you of all the people that are here, you kind of like put yourself into some of these situations versus things just kind of. Well, so do you, but I mean, like, but you've been doing this a long time. I've been
He's
following
a magnet,
you.
bro.
Well, I've been following you for a long time, like 'cause I know you. So like you've always been doing this thing, but you put yourself in a lot of things. You have a lot of pictures of like the orbs thing, lights floating and stuff. You go to a lot of cemeteries at night. And I'm not talking about normal cemeteries. You go out and seek out. First of all, let me ask you that because that's one thing I always wanted to know. So, how do you find these places and how do you go about that part?
It started with a website that just had a bunch of stuff all through Ohio, and it was like broken down per county, you know, and it had like any kind of, you know, paranormal type stuff in it, you know, abandoned stuff too. So it started like that. And then when I would look up a place and head out to it, I would notice that I would see like other stuff on the way. You know, I always say you find your best shit on the way to see other shit sometimes, you know?
Right.
And now I've been doing it for so long that I've got like a long list of places and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you go to some places so is that what it is, though? It comes off that list because sometimes I can't tell one apart from the other. Like, there's so much abandonment that you go to, they start to look alike. I love when you go, my view this morning or whatever. You're like, I mean, you've been doing this for so long, dude, and you're so consistent. Like, you're one of the people, you're like him. Like, you guys are so consistent about your life. Like there's certain things you guys do, and you just keep doing them. And I can almost know, like, I'm going to see a new drawing. I always know that I'm going to see a new thing a place that you just ventured to. It's going to happen. Like, it's you guys are just consistent about that kind of stuff. And that's fucking cool and I think that's what makes you guys the best guests for something like this is that you guys are like delving into it, right? Like, this is something that you're interested in.
Well, like you said before, focused. You know, that.
Totally.
Yeah.
What's the craziest one you went to experience?
The craziest thing I experienced was up at Tinkers Creek Cemetery. Wow. Yeah, that's where I saw that light. Was up there.
Wow. And Tinkers Creek has a lot of different places out there in Hudson.
Right. You know, there's always been a lot of folklore about the place, but I never believed any of it. You know, I just never believed any of it.
So do you do that? Do you go to these places skeptical usually, and then something will change your mind if it does?
Do you go to a certain grave? Like, do you research?
Yeah, actually, I have. Yeah, I have.
Well, tell me something. Do you remember?
Well, you know, there's this guy.
Are you afraid the lights will go out again?
Hold on, don't ruin this.
There's this one that I always go to. I'm drawing a blank on the name though, but I've taken like 1,000 pictures of it. And every time of day, every season, you can think of like hundreds of pictures of this. I looked into that guy and found out a lot about him, where he came from, what he did. It's pretty cool.
What do you like? So do you notice any? Have you done that with other people also?
As a matter of fact, my daughter ended up finding out that everybody in that cemetery is actually related somehow, just generations and generations.
Kid?
They have
That's
different
dope.
names, but they're all related.
So incest was probably a part of this. Hey, incest could be Halloween too. Fuck it, I'm going.
There's a cemetery in Madison. It's right by where that plane crash was. It was around the same time. We were my buddy had it was like a long 5-acre place on Dock Road. And once you go past the creek, like, it's all woods. So those are all people's, like, backyards that probably they never go to. We came across a cemetery that was unbelievably grown over. I mean, there was tombstones right up against trees, like 2 trees and a tombstone right in the middle of it. So it had been there a long
Right. You could tell
time.
there's a lot of time involved.
Yeah.
Trees don't grow overnight.
Right. So, it was weird. Somebody's backyard with an overgrown cemetery.
No shit.
Yeah.
Man. Did they build the house on the cemetery?
Well, the house is up by the road,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
you got a big space of land, and then the creek, which is Arcola Creek, and then more land past it, and that's where we were. We were past it, walking through everybody's backyard.
Did you grow up here in Madison, or just some friends of yours?
No, I grew up in Euclid, but I had a friend that moved out to Madison, so I was always going out and staying with him.
Yeah.
When I was younger.
So you're East Sider.
Yeah.
Okay.
Salute. I got a question for him. So, if like you had some young enthusiastic kids, and they're like, hey, what would be the key thing to going into ghost hunting? Would
To go into what?
To go into like
Ghost
some type
hunting.
of ghost hunting, or some type
yeah.
of just going into paranormal adventures. Would you tell them like, hey, go in there skeptical, go in there just not believing anything you're gonna see, and would you give them that advice? Because you got me curious, because I'm an amateur, so I was gonna ask you that question myself. So I should just go dead in and just be like, hey, nothing's happening, nothing's going on, and then next thing you know, something presents itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I approach it. I don't really go in there looking for anything ever. Like the one at Tinker's Creek.
Yeah.
That was just a fluke thing. It happened right in front of my face. And that's actually what started me going to all these other
That was the beginning.
cemeteries. Yeah.
I was going to ask that. Like, how, what, like, if you don't really have the faith, then what keeps you going back? If
Well, I started going just because I like the atmosphere.
The
I
idea.
like the scenery, It's relaxing to me. And then I just happened to see something one day in that area where there's a bunch of folklore that I didn't, believe too much in it
There's a
either,
lot of folklore over there. They got a place called the Haunted Chimney, and you go in there, you go in those woods, and at the end, in the middle of the woods, it's a big old chimney that was knocked down. But in that place, they got Indians used to travel through there, from soldiers to traveling through there. And I'll go metal detecting to find old stuff. I found old coin, old bullet from right in that area. So there's a lot of folklore that goes on with Streetsboro. In between Streetsboro and Twinsburg for me. And Hudson's like dead in the middle of both of that. And there's nothing but land upon land upon land. So it's like, it's a lot of history over there. And that's why when you told that story, I was like, man, I can believe that. I experienced it myself.
The funny thing is ever since I was a little kid, my uncle used to tell me this ghost story that he saw a ghost one time, but it was never a topic of conversation of where that was. And after that light thing happened, I was telling him about it and just mentioned, it was up at Tinker's Creek, and he's like, "That's where I saw what I saw at same place." I thought that was very weird too.
Well, I was telling him before we came down here, when me and my wife got married, our first place together was this huge house off of 185th. But over time, they turned it into 2 places, upstairs and downstairs, that you could rent. And there was this old lady that would stand in the corner of the room. You could see her move around a bit here and there, but she would stand there. I never made contact with her, and when we finally moved out of there, I was telling my wife about it because I didn't want to freak her out, and she said she's seen her too, and she didn't want to tell me because, she didn't want to freak me out. And the neighbors, we found out later, said they see her walking past windows and stuff. Neither of us made contact with her, and it says in the Bible, don't do that because there's no such thing as ghosts. They're demons impersonating dead people.
Facts.
Anyways, we were out front with all our stuff, loading it into vans and cars, and there was a huge red glow over the house. So me and Sarge, my sax player,
Great.
went in the backyard to see where this light was coming from, and it was pitch black. nothing there.
So Sarge was there with you.
Oh yeah,
So you got a second.
yeah. So it was very weird. Where this red light came from.
So I'll tell you my ghost story.
explanation.
I have one. I have a couple of them, but one that I like actually kind of gives me the chills. So I was living. My daughter was my first daughter was just born. She was probably old enough to talk, a year and a half maybe. I mean, I would say she's about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And we're living in a double. I'm living upstairs. Pothead, like I still am. And so I just got done smoking weed. I was by myself. I don't know why. I was married at the time, or somewhat not married, but with the girl that my daughter was with and everything. So I'm sitting there watching TV, and peripherally out of the corner of my eye, I see something approaching me. And when I go to turn, it's a woman. It's like a silhouette, but it's a woman, and she's got a bun on her head. It's kind of like an Aunt Jemima silhouette, right? But it's not. I think but I think she's white. I think she appears to be like a white woman, but she's like, that's the best way I can describe it, right? So as I'm looking into it, it disappears as it's coming closer to me. Kind of freaks me out. I kind of like put it out of my mind, and a couple days go by, and I hear my daughter talking to her mother, and she's like, "Mom, this woman visited me last night," and she describes her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, she looks like Grandma Bernie," which is my mom to her, and and I'm like, holy fuck, that's the fucking person I saw. Wow. Like, it's the same thing. And she just described her exactly. She didn't know I was listening. I was listening. And so I go out in there, and I'm like, what did she tell you? And she was like, she didn't really say nothing. She this is my daughter telling me. My daughter's real little. She wasn't talking like this. She was like, But I swear it was the same, like I said. At first, you dismiss it. You're like, I'm smoking pot. Of course something comes at me, But then all of a sudden, she's telling me, she did say she talked to her. Now that I remember, she said she was talking to this woman and stuff. Description was like, now I asked myself this: did I maybe tell somebody what I had saw, and then she heard that, and then internalized that into a dream that she, I don't know. I don't know what happened, but I will tell you that was freaky, man, because it was like, like at first you dismiss it, and then all of a sudden someone else is like, oh no, I saw it too. It's the second person that always will verify everything, right?
Yeah,
like,
once you have validation.
Yeah, it's over, man. You're like, oh man, I fucking, and that's what, like with you guys, the reason I think you four are the perfect people is because I felt conviction when I talked to you guys. From all four of you. Pat too. I felt conviction. Like not only did you see something, but I'm not even gonna
affected.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna tell you like it affected, like this shit's real, like this ain't, believe what you want. And you're not stupid, none of you guys. So you guys know how other people think, and all that stuff. But you're still willing to be like, yeah, I know that, but this shit was different.
Right.
Like, what I'm telling you was different. And partially you, like the plane crash thing, you can't make that one up. That's not something that you believe or don't believe. It fucking way, like the plane crashed. You know what I mean?
The plane had already crashed. I didn't get to see that happen.
No. But you saw the horror.
The aftermath.
The horror of it.
Yeah. Well, I went out to visit this buddy in Madison they moved out of Euclid and went out there, so I'd go and stay with him. And I come up, I got dropped off there, I come up on the porch, and he goes, come on, you got to see this. He goes, a plane crashed across the street. So we go over there, and they said that they cleaned it all up. But there was parts of the plane everywhere. There was body parts all over the place. There was a shoe there with a toe in it, and I picked it up, and the toe fell out.
Oh, my God.
So I had the map from that plane. It had blood and guts all over it, up till, like, before the interview. I finally said, what the hell am I doing with this? And I threw it out. But there was a forest and a field. and they cut a sliding board into the forest, and then it crashed in the field. I believe if they would have just went a little further and past the trees, they would have made it, or at least some of them would have survived.
Did it explode? Was it or
Oh
just
man, there was burn marks everywhere. The whole
explode
field,
on impact.
yeah, the whole
Was
field
it a
was
jet?
on fire.
Was it a jet?
No, it was a small plane. I don't know, maybe carries 20 people or so.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. Everybody died on it. So it was real misty too. I never experienced a day like that in my life before or after. It was just weird.
That sounds like something straight out of
A movie, right? It's like it is. I
So,
picture.
so
it.
we went back on the porch talking about what we just saw. I mean, I was only like 14 at the time. And all of a sudden, Frank Marino came over the radio. That was the first time I ever got to hear him. It was Child of the Novelty, the title cut from that album. And that was a life-changing moment hearing that. But it was, was still real freaked out over what we just saw with the plane crash.
One thing I wanted to ask you back then too was, before that, now like were you already into music up until this point?
Oh,
Like-
yeah.
Okay,
I
so-
started playing guitar in 66.
Oh, right. How old are you?
About 6 years old, going on 7.
I love it.
Well, I wanted a guitar before that. I saw the Beatles on
Yeah, you
Ed
told me you were like, I
Sullivan,
could play guitar, but they didn't think I
and
could.
my parents wouldn't
Yeah.
get me one. Oh, you're too young. You can wait. Well, my brother Emmett had a band called the Substantial Beings, and the rhythm guitarist had a guitar sitting in the corner, and he goes, "I need that like I need a hole in the head." So I ran up and told my mom. I said, "He don't want that guitar no more." So she came down and said, "How much?" And he said, $25, but if he gives me that little steel guitar with it. I had a steel guitar from Sears, just a little fake thing. But,
A little toy guitar.
but yeah, so he goes, if he gives me that, I'll sell it to you for $24. So
So you got your first guitar.
yeah, so it was like a Les Paul copy with a single pickup on it, single humbucker, but it was a good guitar.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah, man.
Mondo
Fucking
too,
beautiful
I
moment.
had. Same thing.
Well, isn't that kind of how it starts for everybody? Like you guys, like
It's a-
all you real guitar players, like the real ones that are out there, like these three guys. No offense.
Oh, no, I'm nowhere near.
Listen, dude, I don't know if you realize who the
I'm
fuck you're around.
amongst celebrities here. Like
I don't know if you know who the fuck you're around, but these guys are no joke.
I'm listening. And I'm acknowledging. I'm listening and I'm
But like,
acknowledging.
isn't that kind of how it happens with all you guys?
I'll
Like,
give you the $10 later. Thank you.
seriously though, I mean, like,
You know what
owe
I'm starting to see, like listening to your stories and stuff, and like listening to your experiences, and just kind of thinking about my experiences, and I've heard this from other people too. Seems like there's life-changing events that happen that revolve around weird things.
supernatural stuff. Like
yes.
Yeah, you're right. Almost like at the time where you're presented with the fact that you have this gift, there's something that's bringing it to you.
Yeah, in a
like
very
it's
weird,
almost like
strange
ding,
way.
ding, 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 ding. There's a bell being rung, and it's like, oh, by the way, you're a great guitar player. like you know what I mean? Like you don't mean I know this yet, but you will find out. You're really good at this. Ding, 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 and then you're like, and it's always something like that, right? Where and it's something that you can't forget. Like no offense, but the story you just told, I don't even know that you changed a word in the first time you told the story. It's like exactly.
Well, it's burned in
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
brain,
My point exactly is that these events burn in your brain. Like you guys are like,
and put you on a path
for
Yeah.
instance,
of your life.
For instance, I'll tell you
Yes,
this:
that's fact.
you guys have done a lot of gigs. They all start to bleed together. Like you don't remember each gig individually or whatever, but you remember those events. You remember those things that happened, like that set you on your way, and that did this and did that for you. They're unforgettable. Like to the point where, like I said, you explain it the exact same way because it's so burned into your brain the
Yeah.
way it happened. And I find that so fascinating. I think he does too. That's why we wanted to have this. Because not only are you guys like virtuosos in your own right in what you guys do, but there's got to be something to this, right? Like there's these non-believers and there's all this stuff. Then there's this stigma about, oh, you're silly or whatever. But you guys are the real deal, and you guys have had your own experiences and stuff. There's something more to it.
Well, sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, there's a lot of people that they can't believe it. They'll wig out.
They're wacky.
It's over. Like,
They're on drugs.
They can't do it.
See, I'm open to like both sides. You know what I mean? I don't put it off as like, oh, that kind of stuff is just impossible, because there is a lot of people that's like that. You know?
Yeah.
My story started with my mom, though, I believe, because when I was a baby and she died, the only thing I remember is being in a little dark room. You know, obviously my little room back then, and I was crying, just crying and going crazy. And this wasn't at one house. This was when I was like 2 or whatever. And all of a sudden, these little red dots came together to end the darkness and made a train. And it calmed me down. And a little choo-choo. and it went into the wall. And then this little door opened, and there was a woman. And I just went, I think that was my mom.
That's whatever.
And that was the night I think she died. And the weird thing of leaving Cleveland from the Demons and going to Brook Park, we used to party at Holy Family Cemetery when we were, teenagers and stuff. And I found out later that's where my mom is buried.
wow.
Out of all the damn cemeteries in Cleveland, and it's like she followed me.
Yeah, man.
I think it just all came together for that one moment, so she could just see you. Like that's dope, and I believe
So
in that.
that's cool.
See that and when you
Cemetery stories, I was like, man. That's
and when you hear stuff like that, it makes it more believable, because you could understand, like, some of the stuff that's weird about the afterlife and stuff. It's like, why is this demon fucking with me? Right? When you hear people talk about this demon, and I guess part of it is you entered into their home or some to that nature, and that explains some of it away. But mom is involved, right? When you all of a sudden you're like, mom's involved. Well, there's a
Like
good
yours.
reason why mom's involved, versus just some random demon or some ghost or whatever like that. But I'll tell you what, as far as that's concerned, I was definitely convinced after them lights went out that there was something else in that room with me.
Yeah, and that was like the 5,362nd thing that had happened in my life, too. You know what I mean?
And for me, it was like, oh, wow,
So,
man.
see, I'm like used to it. It didn't even
I was
faze me. If you
convinced that
remember,
when it
didn't even
happened,
faze me.
dude, I'm telling you, it felt weird. It was like, something ain't right here, dude. This didn't happen.
He told me the stories, and then when I seen you, you pulled in. I felt it right out the car. That's when you drove by, and I looked at you, and I'm on the phone. I was like, you could feel that energy just resonating off of you, like. If I was in the afterlife, I would have to come to you like, hey, tell the people I'm okay. You're the magnet, so just let them know I'm good over here. Because you're that guy. And through history, it's always, whether it's male or female, it's always that person that has such a connection to that other side. And them be them same people like, well, they're nonchalant about it. I don't believe in it. But every time they go put themselves in a situation, something transpires, and that's cool.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of stories too, like what you were just saying, that sometimes it's like the people that aren't really the big believers are usually the people that you're talking about like that. Yeah.
You ever been to the Garfield Monument?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal place. I took my kids there, and the first time they went in, and there's the guy at the door. He's got the little podium or whatever, and I said, see this floor here? It's tiled with Nazi signs everywhere. And the guy goes, don't tell them that. But it is. I mean, they're backwards, but it's still a Nazi sign. I don't care if it's forward or backwards.
Well, actually, that symbol had actually been around for
I know
thousands of years.
I know it has. But the Nazis made it.
Right, yeah, it made a
Famous.
a definite negative stigma about it. That's right.
But yeah, I know it's been around forever.
You telling your story, you made me think of my birth story. It's an odd story, very very odd story. Like when, I told these guys it during the last interviews. Like when my mom was pregnant with me, she was supposed to be born on the 24th. So when I was born, I died. Boom. So they're like, hey, we got to do something with this kid, and they're like, I'm falling out. This is maybe we're talking about 11:45 before he goes into the new day. So Mom's passed out after she had me. It's his doctor. He's like, hey, we gotta save this little kid. It's the winter year of '88, right on Metro Health, right over there. So they do what they do. I come back to life at 12 o'clock at night on Christmas. So later on, after my mom has the baby, she comes to. She's like, hey, your son's godmother died. It's within the same time frame. That's why when people say like, hey, when a person dies,
Sacrifice.
a baby is born. I believe in that because that I used to, us Spanish people, we have a bunch of beads. Old school Spanish people, they have a bunch of beads on the doorway. So there's like, hey, when you was brought home, dude, the beads went crazy and you were just laughing and giggling, and then you went back to normal angel after that. So like that was that, like the way that was, it was an epic. I can't remember. I don't know. I was just told a bunch of stories and following up with my mom's background history. She was really into, like, back in Puerto Rico, into satanical magic. It's the meaning of satanical magic is not Satan itself. It's they worship saints, different ones that got close to God, and they worship them. They praise them. They have their little shrines and have what they have about them in Puerto Rico. So my mom was really into that around that time. So it's like, I feel like when I was born, that person died, and this person came.
How'd she die?
My godmother.
Yeah.
She a sudden death. She died in her sleep.
Wow.
They never said how.
Never said how. She died in her sleep. This is '88. So we don't have all the fine things we have now.
Yeah, right. I hear
So
you.
they're like, hey,
Natural death was still like something.
that's a luxury still now in these days. That's a luxury right there, bro.
Remember, you died of natural causes.
Hey,
Remember that? Remember the
Died of
days,
old
right?
age.
Hopefully,
Yeah, that's still happening.
That was
she might be
great.
scarred.
My godmother, she was one of the lucky ones. Like, she was supposed to be my godmother. She was one of the lucky ones. So at the same time I'm being born, she's going out to the next world. So
Yeah,
it's like it was epic. It's the fact of that I'm supposed to die, and they're like, hey, there's nothing we can do. We're gonna try to keep him alive, but if certain times goes by, there's nothing we can do. And then to come back at life at Sunday morning, you could look it up. I was born on Sunday morning at 12 o'clock.
How the hell am I going to look it up?
Best
You're going
Christmas
to punch your name in the computer and you're going to come up?
gift your mother ever got.
Put it in the
Every
Googler.
every 7 years, Christmas falls on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. But one thing I do have to, being Halloween, ask you about, because me and Pat somehow missed it the first time around, is your mom shot you.
That's a whole another.
Yeah, but we got to get into that. I mean, only
That's not really
when
that.
mom shoots you, that's Halloween. So we got.
Was that on Christmas?
That's horror
Yeah, I
story
mean, mom don't shoot you on Christmas. So
Did
how
she miss her
does that
answer?
happen?
So when I was a kid, I was around 12. I used to hang out with the big boys. So I thought I was tough. I thought I was, just one of them guys, one of the guys. So I come back home, and she's like, "Hey, you didn't go to school?" I was like, "Yes, I did." She's like, "No, you didn't. I know the school called." So and I was like, "No," basically being a smartass. Said whatever, this and that. Well, if I knew the history that I know now about my mom, I would have just walked around that whole situation. But she's like, it's the same. He's like, oh, dude, get it, dude. You big and bad. So my mom cocked her .22 rifle. I'm hitting the corner.
She shot you with a rifle?
Bow! Hit my arm.
Holy
God,
crap.
dude.
That's the scar.
I used to just get spanked.
And nowadays, that's like looked at like, oh my God, how can you spank your kids? How would you shoot your
Oh my
kids?
God.
It's like because it's
Hey,
like
they'll learn.
when
I
people
guarantee
when people
it.
come from other
Holy
areas that's
smoke.
not the United States, they have a whole different way of going about their parent. That whole situation where they say, hey, if you live in a town or some village, it's not just the mother or the father. The village raised the she
love
lived
that
that.
story. I love
She
that story.
lived that. Like you rocking where my mama comes from, like if you get caught by the stoner or stealing, he gonna give you a little, this is what they call it in Spanish, he gonna give you some papao, send it back to your mom, you get a papao from your mom, from your dad. It's just a lot of ass whippings happening for you that day. That's it. You're gonna be a sad little man that day. So that's just the way it worked back in them times being
There's
from
a
Puerto
song,
Rico.
Pow Pow.
Trust me, he'll have that shit out in another couple weeks.
You're gonna bring back some memory, boy. You're gonna bring back some memories. So, but that's
Nice.
how that day transpired, and that's the little story. I got epic stories with my mother. That's minor. You were like, oh
Come
my
on,
God,
your
that's
mom
not minor.
shoots you and that's minor? Like, what's worse than that?
Well, she nuked him.
There's way, like if you guys,
Well, there was this Perry plant incident.
if you guys had my sisters here, like
my
like
God.
there's this thing. Let's go back to the paranormal. There's this thing in every culture that happens. Me and my little sisters, we used to think, our mom was a little on the other side. We knew she was already on the other side, but there used to be times where, where every other kid grew up happy for weekends, we didn't. Me and my 3 sisters, we didn't grow up happy for weekends.
Why not? What was?
Because the whole weekend had changed. My mom didn't really drink or smoke because she hated weed, she hated all that stuff. So some things will transpire on the weekends, and this follows up with another story that I have to tell on this segment because I've seen and know what it's like to be stalked by a hell dog.
What's a hell dog? Oh, I've seen. I haven't
ain't
seen
tell
a
you
real
that.
one, but the movies they love to play the hell dog thing.
You know what? You know we're right here in Cleveland, right around the corner around Seymour, real bad neighborhood. Oh, it was on the news. It was on the news. Ariel Castro, the guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That whole area, I used to stay right next to a house away from Ariel Castro, and
A house away?
a house away. Wow. I could tell you that's another segment.
Yeah, I know other people have known him, but go ahead.
But I'm gonna get back to the first subject. My mother on the weekends there's a saying when you're practicing something, whether you're into Wicca, whether you're into voodoo, hoodoo, any of that, they say like once you're in, it's like a game. Once you're in, you're in. That's it. Don't renege from it. So my mom reneged from it, and believe it or not, she will get possessed. She will go into moments. Like I would get into detail, but it's things that's just like far to freak out. Because my mom, there's one incident when my mom tried to out all 3 of us, and she would do this thing right before. She'd be sitting on the couch, we'll catch her. She has this long black Indian hair. So we'd be like, hey, Mom, you all right? She'll look at us and say something in Spanish. And then I'll tell my sisters back up. And that's when we knew, because my mom would do this thing with her mouth. And things would disappear. Her whole front mouth would disappear. And she'll have fangs sticking out. If for anybody that don't believe, ask my sister.
Stop.
She turned into a vampire.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You can't just blow through this, dude. Like, at some point, I got to stop you and be like,
I got to run through it because it's that much stuff.
Hold on, dude. It's your mom. So let me get this right. So you guys could be sitting around the house, Wheel of Fortune's on.
Weekends. It only happens on
Okay.
weekends.
So weekends. What's on the weekend? So you guys could be sitting around the house watching TV, and all of a sudden you look over at your mom to be like, hey, Mom, is there any milk? And this shit would be could it be happening?
She would change. And it's not.
So is she going to be watching this episode?
Yeah, dude.
No, my mother. These
guys are about to leave.
Thank God, my
Everyone's
mother is not into any of the social medias or any of that. She just stays to herself. Like she
doesn't even know what you do.
She knows I'm ghost hunting. She just she always tells me like, hey, be careful.
What about your music? Does she know about your music?
Yeah, she knows about it. She like I said, she used to have her own little shrine on that time. She still has a shrine now, so she does a little here and there stuff. But when things were gonna transpire, the things you would think, like my mom been through a lot of crazy stuff, so it's like things with her body wrong, the way she would move when it came to that. Like me and my sisters had a Chucky night. We always call it. We talk about it to this day. It's where my mom was. Literally, them old replaceable doors that's like really light, like you could just punch through it and then just like you see
Sure.
We ran in there for my mother one night because she did the whole chief thing. And when she does it,
She's an Indian.
my mom's
American Indian.
full blood, not American.
You come from Middle Eastern.
There's different types. You see, there's Puerto Ricans and then there's Tainos.
So Indian, like Mexican Indian type thing?
No, like Islander Indian, like in the jungle Indian.
I got you.
Being raised around fruits and all that other stuff, in the mountains.
But like what, the Caribbean type islands?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
If you was to label it, we would be Caribbean.
I got you. That far from Puerto Rico, but that whole conglomeration.
Because if you look at it, you got Puerto Rico, Jamaica.
Well, Spain conquered that whole area, right?
Yeah. So and that's what that's another story. So. My mom, she would go through these possession moments to where she'd
be possessed.
We would call it. That's what I call it. That's what I call it because look, my mother's a beautiful mother, humble person. You meet her like, oh my God, your mom's just so nice and that. And I'll look at you crazy like, oh, well, you don't know the half of it. You don't know the half of it. So they're like, but due to her, what I told you earlier, having left away from doing whatever she was doing with the witchcraft and whatever she was doing, she reaped the wrong benefits of it. So that's why I believe in all of this stuff I believe in now, because I believe in, if you get into something, stay into it. Don't
just get into it at all unless you're ready to commit.
So when she would get into the moments, like I said, that the one worst moment was she was stabbing through the room like Chucky, trying to get at me and my 3 sisters, and her whole face was changed. We leave out the door, and she will, like, "Mommy, I love you, sorry." She'll crawl, like, on some crazy stuff that you'll see.
Did she do the back crawl thing that they do in the movies?
Bro, if I would have shit bricks and died, I would have shit bricks and died.
The Exorcist, right?
Yeah, they
cut that part out. Yeah. Because they said it would
did
freak
that on the ceiling going up the stairs.
They said it would freak everyone out. They
Yeah.
wouldn't let it in. I know. I've read
But
that.
imagine, after someone trying to stab her through a easy door to stab through, and you go out with your sisters, and then you see someone, long ass black hair, looking like The Ring, and they come at you, and you got your 2 sisters with you.
Is your mom?
This is my mom at that time. Like, I've been experiencing paranormal since I can remember. I got countless of stories that I can tell you. That's why when people talk to me about this stuff, like, I don't give them, "Oh my God, that don't happen." No, like, hey, that's big and possible. That's more than possible.
Yeah.
But people don't never know where I come from, or I don't give them the stories, or I don't tell them. This is actually the first time me telling this story.
So I'm going to tell you something. Like what you're based on what you're saying here. Everybody here, I think, has a moment where obviously you kind of like crossed over, right? I mean, like at some point you had to everybody, where you guys were just kind of like, this is real, right? Like before there was a point before where you were like, no, and then there's a point after where you're like,
they say when you reach close to death, that when the people come back, some people don't come back just the same as they was. They have a certain sixth sense to things around them.
Yeah.
That's facts.
Yeah.
That's facts.
Well, with like the UFO thing, back around, I think it was the summer of '67, my dad came home. He normally worked at Collinwood Yard, but every once in a while they'd send him over to Marcy Yard in the west side. And he came back from there, and so he had to drive the freeway, and he said he's seen this thing shooting across the sky. He said it must have been doing like 1,000 or more miles an hour.
Oh.
And it got there, and then it went up and disappeared faster than what it was going the other way. He said that's a UFO.
You can't like.
So I knew, like, from that point that those things
exist.
Real.
They were around.
I took my daughter in my truck when my oldest, and she was probably 10 at the time, and they all want to get in the truck, I took her for the day, and she's sitting there. It was like 4 a.m. We're going down the turnpike, going towards Toledo, Indiana. And all of a sudden, we seen like a Frisbee light on the right, about 1 o'clock. And we're like, holy shit, what is that? It's just weird looking, And it looked like the typical UFO that everyone talks about, and it's bright light, looked like a Frisbee. And I got on the CB, I go, is everyone seeing this shit? and right after I said that, it went, bam.
Out.
And me and my daughter looked at each other and we go, oh my God.
Yeah, see, those are the moments, right? Like, those are the moments where there's certain things that happen where you guys are just like...
watching a lot of documentaries about consciousness and purpose and things like that. Yeah. And now this, and listening to everybody, it's very weird. Yeah. Very weird how things transpire.
How believable everything starts to become where you're like, wow,
I guess that's what the definition of supernatural or paranormal is. You know what I mean? Things that you can't really explain.
I know my life's a movie.
It's really weird.
We're gonna wrap it up.
Like
I
us
just don't know how.
for example,
I hope I can write the
we've got.
Here, I'm gonna start wrapping it up.
Things that happen, and
So,
that really makes a difference of life-changing events and shit. But we're creative people. You know what I mean? I wonder if, like, other people that ain't creative people, I wonder if that kind of shit happens in their life too.
Oh, yeah.
honest.
No. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying
I
because
have a point. If you guys don't believe in that there's things out there, this is a fact. So I was living, this is in the same house where my mom used to do her thing. So I'm gonna tell you the story about the hell dog. That same house on 25th had the one Mexicans in the middle, and then had the Castro house right next to it. So, but the house was old. It didn't have no siding after the incident happened. That's when my
after when you say the incident.
after the hell dog incident.
Oh, okay.
Because it dug.
I thought you meant-
The reason she replaced the whole siding on everything because there was nail marks going inside in her home.
Like
So-
demon nails.
I don't know what it is.
Well, I mean,
was,
like it could be.
11, 12 at this time. So let's run through it. So the first night I heard it is banging on the window. I wake up hysterical like any little kid was, and like just scared, looking out. Okay, it's nothing. And it happened for 3 days straight. By the second day, I go outside and with my sisters, I bring my sisters. I'm like, hey, there's a bunch of slime and crazy stuff on this window. And then they look at these. Right before the window, there's a mud patch. It never grew anything and at all. It's just if you put your footprint in there, it's gonna imprint in there. They're gonna stay in there for a while. It says mess with. We will see claw marks inside and dug in the dirt. And my sister's like, Angel, it's nothing. Don't scare us. By the third night, me and it banged. They were banging on the window. The way it's banging on the window is as if like any more harder, you're gonna break the window. It's like I would say knock and run type of thing. So you're banging on the window. So I was like, I wake my sister up, Jody. Say, hey, get up. I'm about to go check this out. I grab she grabs our little sister because she's waking up at that time. I was like, hey, Angel's about to go out and see what's going on out in the back window because and by this time it's still going on. And how it's going on is like by this point, this window should have broke. This is a cheap house window. This ain't no extravagant
But you're
window.
still hearing the bangs.
Still hearing the bangs. And remember, this is still the slime and grime on the window and the claw prints inside of the freaking mud. So we go outside. I go outside with a knife, this arm. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm 12 years old.
It's got to be much of a...
So I go out there and I don't see nothing in the back. And then I hear like I can't explain the sound. It's like it was like as if breathing, but like growling at the same time, like that type of like. But it was a but it wasn't like a man. Remember, I took me and my sister Jody, my little Marie was on the back porch, so we left her there. We go to the side, we see the thing swing its tail. It looked like it had a overgrown rat's tail, had fur going all the way down, and then
How big?
dude,
A human size?
it could eat,
Bigger than
man.
human?
It looked like it looked at least. And I'm looking at it from the bottom up, so I'm trying to remember from tail to the head.
No. Like standing up though. It's standing up or is it on all fours?
Oh, and this on fours on the side of the house. When we saw it, it ran up the side of the house. So like it's all in the moment. We walk up. I tell Johnny, look, and then she looks up. She's like, oh my God! It swings its tail and runs up the siding of the house. So from the looks of it, it had been at least 7 or 8 feet.
Jesus God.
And then from there, we the sound stopped. None of the creepy stuff was happening no more because we had told my mom about it. She's like, I'll handle it, and whatever she did is whatever she did.
Did you shoot it?
I don't know.
He only shoots her son. Oh, hell no.
She shot him in the other
No.
arm.
She only
so kill
shoots
him.
humans. And anybody that
You guys
disrespects
are
her, like she
rough.
don't. But that's what happened that night. And
Awesome.
I never could forget that. Me and my sisters tell that story to this day. We never could forget it. Never
Awesome.
could forget it, man. And then the landlord, she lived upstairs, so she wound up replacing the whole siding and asking my mom, like, what happened? They looked like big old shotgun holes, and there's nobody shooting out guns. I was like, my mom lied to her and told her, like, well, I don't know, but me and my mom,
But
my
it
sisters
left
knew.
its prints in the dirt, though.
It left its prints in the dirt. It looked the way it was three things like this and one paw. So it curved into the dirt. It ain't just like was a natural paw
Yeah.
mark. It looked like when it put its things down, it dug into the dirt at the same time. So like if it jumped at you, it'd be like something out of freaking Predator or something.
Yeah.
Like it just scratch your face and you're done. Like
Cool,
type of
cool,
thing.
cool.
So yeah, that was my last story for this. I got plenty more, man.
Oh no, man! Like I said, next Halloween we'll probably do another one of these. But I appreciate you guys coming down.
Oh,
and telling
yeah.
us.
Thank you.
Well, honestly, this is one of them things where I really appreciate you guys because there's a lot of people who wouldn't do this. You know, like this is like one of them things where people would be like, well, you know, I saw it, but I don't want to tell nobody. People, you guys are like, fuck it, I don't even care.
Yeah.
And I think that's the coolest thing. I think that's the coolest thing about it. And dude, if there's one thing about you that I think is interesting is that you've taken this alien thing all the way to your art. Because I don't know what the fuck.
Well, I draw what I see.
Man, dude, you got the cool. I love the shit you do, dude.
Well, thanks.
The aliens gave him a jump.
I'm telling you, dude, it is
it's like, hey, we're gonna
it's
jump out your car.
some of the coolest shit I've
Gave him
ever.
a jump.
I love it. You know what you did for our studio thing, dude.
Oh yeah.
Trust me, I tell you how much I love that.
Well, thanks.
Love it. All right, everybody. We're gonna call it a night, man. Our first, actually, not another, but our very first Halloween Spooktacular here on Level Up Cleveland. Thanks to Angel Thevybe, Ed Miller,
Salute.
Ricky Ray, Mike Webster. I appreciate everybody coming down here. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. And have a good Halloween. Hope the rest of the night's good. Hope the rest of the week's good. And these guys can go have cigarettes.
Keep it rocking. Cleveland.
Let's go,
Level Up
guys.
Cleveland, baby.
See you guys later.
Subscribe.
That'll be fine.